adjust downward. There we go. I don't even know how to make it go more of a downward angle, so here we are. Hi, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, my name is Angela and I am a beauty/lifestyle blogger who's been doing this for like 8 or 9 years. I always say at the beginning of my videos, I'm an Oprah Magazine Insider. I have been in the Oprah Magazine, I've been in Oprah Magazine twice. I've been on the Today Show twice, New York Times twice. I've been in USA Today, actually for Weight Watchers. And here I am just doing my thing, you know? This is a very unusual video. You're probably like, where the heck are you? I'm actually on my patio. I can kind of show you around. This is like my patio. Ta-da! My husband has made it kind of a beach theme. I don't know why he felt the need to decorate with like a beach cooler and, you know, snorkel gear. There's my little painting, but I wanted to start doing some videos out here because it has become my morning routine to come out here, drink my cup of coffee, which I have my little coffee here, and watch Marco Polo videos with my fellow Bright Lane Eating Mastermind group members and my mentor. And so I told my mentor that accountability for me has been one of the keys. I'm really bothered by all this headroom. Like, it really bothers me. I'm a former TV reporter and I'm like, you have way too much headroom. You cannot be doing your video. Ah! Technical difficulties. I'm gonna work this out. I guess I'm just gonna have a bunch of headroom. Anyway, so I'm sorry about that. So I decided that one of my forms of accountability would be to do YouTube lives, and I'm gonna try to do them as much as possible. You know, I told her if I could do one every day, that would be amazing because it would be a form of progress measurement and a major form of external accountability that I need. Because if you've read the book by Gretchen Rubin called The Four Tendencies, she talks about the types of personalities there are four. I am the obliger, which most people are, and obligers need external accountability or we will not follow through on our goals. So I told her, like, doing a YouTube live every day and announcing my weight, like telling, you know, the whole world how much I weigh, that would be a massive form of accountability that I think would really hold my feet to the fire to keep me going on this program. So this is my first of many probably YouTube lives that I will talk about Bright Lane eating and, you know, my weight loss journey and why I'm here. So if you're new to my channel and you have no idea who I am one of those people that, you know, it sounds arrogant to say I'm fairly successful in most of my life, but I am. And go check out my social media. I invite you to subscribe to my channel. I invite you to click the, you know, subscription box below so that you can, you know, keep up with these videos that I plan to do. But if you look at my other social media accounts, you'll see that I am very successful in majority of things I attempt, including like my professional career. I'm very proud of my full-time job. I do public relations for a major corporation here in Florida. I'm a public spokesperson. I go on camera. You know, all of the blogging success that I have had. I'm you know, a professional pianist. I'm playing at a church's Christmas Eve service tomorrow night. And you know, I would say that I'm a good mom. I say I'm a good wife, and I got a lot of friends, but I'm very unsuccessful in keeping my weight down. And I can confess to you now, and I say this without shame because I've really worked through a lot of my issues, but the reason is because I am a food addict. And unfortunately, I have a binge brain. And if you take the food susceptibility quiz, which is, you know, step number 1 for Bright Lane eating, you can find out what you are on the scale of 1 to 10. I'm a 10 out of 10. And so for me, sugar and flour has an addictive pull to a quote unquote normal eater. I shouldn't say normal because there are a ton of food addicts just like I am, but to an eater who's in the middle of the range or much lower on the food susceptibility scale, food doesn't have the pull for you that it does for me. And so it has been hard to struggle with this over the years because, like, I feel that I carry my shame for everybody to see. Like, as soon as you meet me, you realize I'm carrying a lot of extra weight. So talking about weight, my highest weight, the picture that you see on the YouTube thumbnail, the before picture, that was a year and a half ago at my son's first birthday party, and I weighed 210 pounds. I'm 5'2.5", so I really shouldn't be weighing that much at all. So at 210 pounds, I remember, like, I would just walk up the stairs of my house and get winded. Like, I would literally be like out of breath, you know? Then, you know, my knees would hurt and I just felt like I had no energy. Like, I felt self-conscious about my size. You can even see in the thumbnail, like I'm wearing a kimono. I wore a lot of kimonos. Thank God kimonos were super in style last year because I wore them everywhere and every day to kind of hide my stomach. You know, I'm an apple shape. That's where my weight goes. So that picture was on a cruise, not a real cruise, but like a little mini cruise, like a day cruise that you go out and come back. And everybody, you know, we took full body pictures, and I was like, "Ugh, I'm literally like the big girl in this picture." So I was very self-conscious. You know, I always tried to hide behind my son. My toddler's like not that big, so it's hard to hide behind a tiny toddler. So these are some of the issues I've had to work through. So let me tell you why I started Weight Watchers. I started it because it is a program that is familiar to me, and I also started it because you could eat unlimited fruits and vegetables on the program. And I also love that Weight Watchers launched the 3 different types of eating plans. At the time, I chose to stay on the blue plan, which is the one that was the Weight Watchers Freestyle that had been going on for 2 or 3 years. When they revamped and announced that there would be 3 plans, the blue plan was the one that had stayed the same. It had been the Freestyle. So I decided I would stay with that. Eventually I switched to green, which was good for me. And I actually do believe that Weight Watchers is a great program if you are not high on the food susceptibility scale. Now, let's get started talking about Bright Line Eating. For those of you who are new to my channel who have no idea what it is, I always tell people who are asking me, like, how are you losing weight? How's it going? Read the book, Bright Line Eating. And I am now at 173, which is close enough to 40 pounds. I was just like, on the thumbnail, I'm gonna write 40 pounds, it's fine, it's fine. So I feel like Bright Line Eating is the key for me, and if you're high on the food susceptibility scale, you should stay away from Weight Watchers. Like, no offense, Weight Watchers, because we love you, but you're a program that unfortunately has a lot of people gaining back a lot of weight. It is one of the complaints I have about any weight loss program that's out there right now. The program is based on recidivism, and that word means like you lose weight, but then you gain it back. You lose weight, you gain it back. And I have been a yo-yo dieter for so many years, like up and down and up and down. I used to be a TV news anchor, you know, 15 years ago when I was like 25, because I just turned 40 years old yesterday. Happy belated birthday to me. When I was a news anchor, like I was known in my community, which is my hometown in Louisiana, for going up and down on the scale. Like I had a wide variety of news anchor suits, because back then you wore suits on air, and I had a wide variety of sizes. I had everywhere from size 6 to like size 12. And I just, you know, was going up and down on the scale because it's what I did. So I discovered Bright Line Eating 3 years ago. Coffee break. I discovered Bright Line Eating 3 years ago, read the book. It clicked for me. It made so much sense, but I didn't have the courage to start the program. I kept telling myself, I'm just going to do Weight Watchers. I'm just going to do these other diets and, you know, keep at it, because I was so addicted to sugar and flour that I'm like, I cannot imagine a life without sugar and flour. Like, what would my life be like? What would I even eat? Oh my goodness, it's such a major dramatic change. I don't even know where to begin. Well, time went by and I was on the Facebook page. There's a Facebook group called the Official Bright Line Eating Facebook group. And I was seeing week after week, I was seeing success story after success story that was like dramatic. I'm talking people lose like 150 pounds, you know, and then there are a lot of people who lose like 50 pounds, you know? So I'm literally looking at all these success stories and I'm like, why can't I do that, right? That thought's percolating in my mind. Like, I can do that too. Then what really got me to do the Bright Line Eating program, what really started me on the path is 2 things. I got a health coach. Her name is Andrea, and I should link in the description box below. I'm going live, so I don't have it linked right now, but I can link in the description box below to Andrea's website and her Instagram, and you can message her. Andrea was my health coach, and she was the first step to helping me see that I have the ability and the power within me to do hard things and to eat however I choose to eat. I did her one-on-one coaching, very intensive, and she's amazing. Like, I love Andrea. I'm obsessed with her. And she has a 12-week program, and I highly, highly, highly recommend it. And in full transparency, I'm an affiliate for Andrea, but even if I were not, I would not hesitate to recommend her. I think that she was like the first step that I took to getting, you know, the freedom in my mind and the strength of will to realize I can do these hard things. So I highly recommend her. I will have her description box or link in her description box below. Her Instagram handle is Things Andrea Says. And so you can look her up and message her, tell her I sent you, because again, I'm an affiliate, so I get a tiny percentage of what she earns, which, you know, she deserves everything because she's amazing. So she was my first step because she coached me one-on-one, and I took pages of notes. I'm talking pages of notes when I would talk to her about just, you know, why I would choose to overeat and like how I could overcome those tendencies, like what are the steps I could take. You know, her 12-step program was, or 12-week program was amazing. So that was step number one. Step number two is I read the book Brain Over Binge, and she had read the book years ago, so we would talk about it, you know, and that book clicked for me where I was like, oh my gosh, this is, you know, the reason why my brain has the tendency to binge eat. And it's funny because it went hand in hand with what Andrea taught. And so she also was able to tell me the principles, you know, that she would teach that went hand in hand with that book. So it was amazing to, you know, have that resource. So then step number three was that I read the book Never Binge Again. And that also clicked for me. That solidified the Andrea teachings, and the Brain Over Binge teachings, and the Never Binge Again's teachings were really powerful. I was even interviewed on the Never Binge Again podcast by Yoav, one of the co-founders of the program. So that experience, like reading those books and having Andrea, kind of built me up. And honestly, I'll be honest, you could do any one of the three things. First, you need to read Bright Line Eating. Then you need to do one of the three things, if not all three. But like, you know, go see Andrea, or if you can't afford to have a private health coach, read Brain Over Binge or read Never Binge Again. I would say if I had to rank the three for the cheapest and like most efficient, I would say read Never Binge Again. I was hesitant about Never Binge Again because they call your lower thinking brain your your pig. Bright Line Eating calls it your saboteur, like your sabotager. Brain Over Binge calls it, you know, your lower thinking brain. But Never Binge Again put me off because it's called your pig. They call it your pig, and I feel a lot of people are turned off by that. Don't be turned off by that. Just call it whatever you feel comfortable with, like your food demon or whatever. Just read the book. So reading the book, and I should also mention that I listen to the podcast. There's a ton of YouTube videos from Dr. Glenn Livingston. Doing that, plus the intensive course, I did the intensive course for Never Binge Again. That also gave me the strength of will to realize that I am strong enough to do Bright Line Eating. And you are strong enough to do Bright Line Eating. You can do any eating program that you choose to do. It's learning to talk back to your sabotaging brain. And along the way, I learned to call it saboteur, pig, inner food demon, you know, my lizard brain, my monkey brain, my lower thinking brain, whatever you call it. You know, it is your lower thinking brain that urges you to binge eat. And it's a survival mechanism that's gone awry, it's gone wrong. So you have to overcome that tendency. It is a bad habit that you have built up over the years, and you have to learn a new habit of talking back to your binge brain. So after all of these things, I'm talking 3 years of work leading up to Labor Day of this year, which I think was September 8th. So September 8th, I woke up and I had been binge eating, you know, because I think what happened was, you know, working with Andrea, reading Brain Over Binge, reading Never Binge Again, doing the intensive course of Never Binge Again, like doing all those things, I think my sabotager brain was putting up a fight. And the Never Binge Again principle calls it a conscious pig party, like, or a farewell party. Like your pig knows it's on its last legs. Like your pig knows it's about to, you know, be beat down. So I had started binge eating like for the past week or two, and I was like, oh my gosh. And I even remember telling Andrea, like, I'm binge eating. She's like, okay, let's work through it. You know, and I was reading Never Binge Again, like I was doing all the things. And it's because I knew my pig knew I wanted to do Bright Line Eating. So I binged for like a week or two, and then I woke up Labor Day, and I had not settled on that day. Like I had not picked that day, like this is gonna be the day that I stop binge eating. In fact, I had planned to binge eat Labor Day because my neighbors were getting together, they were doing a barbecue, so I was like, I'm gonna binge eat, it's gonna be great. And then maybe I'll start tomorrow, we'll see. Because the sabotager brain was always like, I'll start tomorrow, farewell party today, like eat everything in sight today. So I woke up that morning, and I had binged so badly the night before that I woke up that morning and I was like, this is it. This is the day. No longer will I live like this. Like it is so unhealthy. I feel so sick when I wake up. Like I just feel sluggish and tired. no more. So I woke up that day and I was like, today is the day I'm gonna do bright light eating. And I had stuff in my fridge, you know, that I had prepared for my first day of bright light eating. Like I had all the food stuff, you know, and I knew what I was gonna eat. And I made that my day one. And I literally was compliant on bright line eating, like 100%. They call it a crystal vaser when you have no cracks in your crystal vase, like your vase of eating plan is perfection. Like I was a perfect crystal vaser. And I did that program perfectly for 10 weeks and it was the best thing ever. I was like, this is the best program I've ever done. Like I don't think about food. I have automaticity, which is the word that means like you're just automatic. The reason bright line eating works and the reason I'm choosing it instead of Weight Watchers is because it removes the decision making from your lower thinking brain and it moves your eating behaviors into the prefrontal cortex, which is where your higher thinking brain is, but it's like automatic behaviors. And so for an eating program to really work for you, you have to completely remove and eliminate, if you're a food susceptibility, you know, 10 out of 10 like I am, you need to remove the eating decisions from your lower thinking brain and your decision making brain, which uses willpower, which will fail you because your willpower is like a muscle. At the beginning of the day it's strong, but by the end of the day it's weaker and you are susceptible to binge or, you know, go eat food off your plan. So the bright line eating program is wildly successful and is bucking the diet industry trend of recidivism, which is when people lose weight and then gain it back. It's bucking that trend because it's making the behaviors of eating automatic. And so building automatic behaviors where you don't make decisions, like you just eat, you know, what you're supposed to eat, it's what makes this program wildly successful, and it is what has made it wildly successful for me. And I will tell you that the short version of the bright line eating program is, even though we're 16 minutes in, and I should put a little description box, like to tell you about the bright line eating program, scroll to 16 minutes. Bright line eating program is no sugar, no flour, bounded quantities, which means you weigh and measure your food on a food scale. So, you know, that's like an automatic behavior. Like it's, you know, a certain amount, there's no decision making, you eat exactly this amount of food. It is writing down or committing your food every day, and it's eating exactly what's on your plan. I feel like there's another bright line that I'm forgetting, but it's social support, you know, but those are like the four, I think. But what I do is I follow the program. I write down what I am going to eat the next day because, you know, at night I can write down what I'm going to eat the next day, so that decision's made, because the average human makes 237 food decisions every day. When you're on bright line eating, there's 0 food decisions, like 0. So that is why it's successful, is you just commit to what you're going to eat and you follow through with it. So I write down what I'm going to eat on a piece of paper. I have a journal that I'm going to start using in 2021 because it's a pretty pink Vera Bradley journal. It's cute. I'm going to write down, you know, every day, this is what I'm going to eat tomorrow. And then I'm going to mark through a day on the calendar, like on the beginning part of the month, there's, you know, the little block calendars. I'm going to scratch through each day that I am compliant. And that's also, if you've read the book Atomic Habits by James Clear, that's called habit tracking. And habit tracking also builds in automaticity because you see, like you get an instant, you know, at the end of the day, you draw a line through the day, and that's the basic form of habit tracking. Is just, you know, you mark off every day that you stayed compliant. So bright line eating is I write down my food the night before, so the decision making is there, done. Then the next day I wake up and I eat the food that I've planned, and it helps me that I meal prep, you know. Breakfast is, on bright line eating, breakfast is 1 protein, 1 fruit, and 1 grain. And within the food categories, there's you have unlimited food choices of, you know, what are the foods that are within the program. Like a grain could be an ounce of oats, a grain could be an ounce of Triscuits, because there's no flour in that. It could be an ounce of, it could be Ezekiel bread, like a slice of Ezekiel bread, because that's grain-free, or I'm sorry, not grain-free, it's really compliant. I don't want to get into it. Hey, Melanie, good morning. Thanks for tuning in. I miss you too, by the way. You had a sweet comment that you missed me. I miss you too. I haven't seen you in forever. But anyway, there are, you know, a zillion fruits. 6 ounces of fruit is a fruit. A protein could be 2 eggs, you know, 1 ounce or 2 ounces of cheese. It could be 2 ounces of nuts. It could be 8 ounces of yogurt. It could be a sugar-free yogurt, like 0 sugar. It could be 4 ounces of chicken, 4 ounces of beef, 4 ounces of salmon, you know, 4 ounces of shrimp, that kind of thing. So I do in the morning usually the same breakfast where I do like oatmeal with milk and 6 ounces of banana and berries mixed together. That's usually my breakfast. Lunch is a protein, a fat, a fruit, and vegetables. And then dinner is fat, vegetables and a protein. And so it's a lot of vegetables, you know, and 6 ounces of fruit is a lot. Like, it's a lot of fruit. You usually, the program advocates doing like 6 ounces of vegetables at lunch and then 14 ounces of vegetables at dinner, where like 8 ounces of that is a salad. I do something different called the 10-10 split, where I do 10 ounces of vegetables at lunch and 10 ounces of vegetables at dinner. It's a lot. It's like a plate full of baby carrots, you know, it's a lot of vegetables. So you are full, you know. Oh, and 3 meals. I totally forgot. This is the bright line. 3 meals. Okay, so the bright lines are no sugar, no flour, weigh and measure your food, pre-plan and commit your food, and three meals a day. So no snacking in between. So, oh, Melanie, great. You got to read the book, girl. So read the book before you call me. But then when you call me, we're going to buddy up, because I love the buddy ups. I have buddies, and I can talk about that shortly. So bright line eating has been like a dramatic game changer for me, because as a binge eater and a sugar and flour addict, my behaviors felt like compulsions. And I have sympathy for drug and alcohol addicts, because as a food addict, I'm literally like a drug and an alcohol addict. And my sister, who's like this big and is like 100 pounds, you know, she's a personal trainer, very fit, you know, she is normal around food. Like, she just, you know, she can take a bite of cake and put it back and be like, I'm fine. And I'm like, like, I feel a compulsion to eat that cake. Like, I feel like it has power over me, even though we know logically food has zero power over you. You always have the power. As a food addict, you feel like powerless. Like, the cravings are strong, the compulsions are strong. For a 10 out of 10 on the food susceptibility scale, you must abstain. It is easier for you to abstain. And this, by the way, we're 21 minutes in, and this is the summary of why I'm choosing Bright Line Eating instead of Weight Watchers, and why it's way more successful for me. To abstain is compliance, and it is easier for you than to do moderation, because a little bit will trigger you. A little bit will derail you. Like, it's like, if you, for someone like me, who's a food addict and a 10 out of 10 on the susceptibility scale, if you have like 1 bite of cake or 1 bite of sugar, flour, anything off plan, it's all over. Like, you start getting triggered, you have cravings, you feel powerless, like you start binge eating. So this is an important part of my story. So I mentioned a few weeks ago, I started on Labor Day, September 8th, I believe, or is it the 7th? Doesn't matter. I started on Labor Day, and I was perfect for 10 weeks. So here's what happened. What happened was, I went to a honeymoon, or a 10th anniversary weekend getaway with my husband. We stayed at a beachfront resort. I stayed compliant the entire weekend. And then after that, like 1 day later, we went to Disney for 4 days. I stayed compliant through 4 days of Disney. Going to Epcot during the, you know, Food and Wine Festival. And I stayed compliant. I stayed completely Bright Line Eating compliant. In a future video, I'll talk about like the ways I traveled with Bright Line Eating, because I had a whole series of steps that I took. Then I stayed compliant through 3 days after Disney World. And then what happened, what made me fall, because I got back from Disney World on a Thursday and I was compliant Friday, Saturday. On Sunday, after, you know, 6 days, 7 days of, you know, traveling and being exposed to all kinds of different temptation situations. And I, by the way, I should also throw in quickly that I have a mastermind group of ladies who support me. They're like me, very successful in everything in their life. Like, you look at them and they're like phenomenal women. And I'm like, oh my gosh, like, you have written books, you have, you know, you've created a product, and, you know, you have courses, and you're a life coach, and you have a podcast. Like, I look at my mastermind group, and like, we are all on the outside, on the external side, very successful in our lives and careers, all successful mothers, you know, but we all have a lot of weight to lose. So I used them for support, and they were so supportive. They were like, you're making it through, you're doing great, you're doing so great. And I was so proud of myself. Then what happened was, I went on a date night with my husband that Sunday. So it had been more than a week that I had been exposed to all of these triggers, and I had stayed strong. And then I went on a date night with my husband. We went to, I got a free dinner. I'm a blogger, as you know, because you're watching my channel. I went to a dinner at a restaurant opening, you know, safe social distancing, all the jazz, wearing a mask, you know, because I'm really into the whole stay safe. I went to a dinner that was free, and they brought out chips and salsa, and chips are a trigger food for me. And I said no, because it was a Mexican restaurant. And I said, no, please get that off the table, because that is a trigger for me. And they did. And then I ordered a cheese dip, because I was like, I can get vegetables and dip the cheese dip, because cheese is compliant on the program. But I'll just use that as my protein and fat. And they brought out the cheese dips, and they brought out the chips, like the, tortilla chips, and they put it on the table, and I just lost it. Like, I got derailed because something snapped in my brain where I had been saying no and saying no, and I had said no to the chips once, and I just started eating the chips, and I binged, and I was off bright line eating for a month. And I'm talking like it was a horrible month of binge eating, and I was literally like every day waking up like, oh my gosh, I want to get back on bright line eating, and I'm just like out of control. And so that is why it reminded me, I have to be careful, and I have to really protect my bright lines. So that, what happened to me was called PECS. It is post-event collapse syndrome, where it's like you stay strong through the trials and the tribulations, and then on a time when you feel like, oh, I'm over the hump, I'm good, you fall. So I learned hard lessons. I'm back on bright line eating. I've been back on bright line eating for like 2 weeks now, been perfect for 2 weeks. So I'm back on the program, and I plan to stay compliant 100% from here on out. It's one of my New Year's resolutions, is like stay compliant 100%, do a year of bright line eating, and you can do it. It's been really great for me. Okay, let me take that back. It is not great that we're in a global pandemic, but one of the side benefits for me, the silver lining on this horrible dark cloud of the pandemic, is that I've been able to work from home and, not go do all these blogger events that I used to do where there's always food and, sugar and cookies and all these things. I have been able to stay compliant better because I've been staying home and I'm not going and doing all of the things I used to do. So, it's set up for me to be successful. But I'm going to tell you, I do go out sometimes. Again, I'm very careful. I always wear a mask. I hand sanitize. I social distance. But I have been a church musician, and I go to church choir rehearsal. I'm like, don't come near the piano. Y'all don't come near me. But I go out and I'll pack my food, in a to-go container. One of the future videos I should do is, how I pack for a day of bright line eating out and about. I have had days where I packed all 3 meals to go bright line eating, and I have my little lunch bag, which I'll talk about that, Modern Picnic. I have that little to-go lunch bag. It's super cute. I just make it work for me. I really make it work for me. And clearly the program is working for me, because I lost I'll put it to you this way. Within the first 10 weeks of bright line eating, I lost 21 pounds in 10 weeks. No exercise. 21 pounds in 10 weeks. And I did not feel deprived. I felt great. I had energy. My personality improved. My motherhood improved. Like, I became more energetic and was, playing with my son on the floor more because I had more energy. I just was like, wow. So my lowest weight on bright line eating, I got down to like 167, 169, somewhere in that. With my binge eating, I got back up to like 178, 179. So I'm back down to 173. I weigh 173 today, close enough to 40 pounds down that I was like, I'm just taking 40 pounds. It's better. I'm so close, 3 pounds away. It's fine. Doesn't matter. But I know that on bright line eating, my goal is by tax day, April 15th, that I will weigh 135 to 140. And I have a mentor, because it's good to get a mentor. I have a mentor who, she started at 174 on December 3rd, 2019. And by tax date of 2018, she started December 3rd, 2018, 174 pounds. By tax day, April 15th of 2019, she weighed 135. So I'm like, I could be like her. I am a fast loser. So this is almost 30 minutes of explaining why I stopped doing Weight Watchers and why I started doing bright line eating. So for those of you who've all the way watched to this end, I love you guys. Stay tuned to my channel, hit the subscribe button, because my plan is to do what I did today, which is wake up earlier. I used to sleep till like 7:30. I woke up today at 6:30, and I decided I'm gonna start doing YouTube lives. Like, look, I have unwashed hair. I washed my hair yesterday, but I put oil in my hair at night so that it grows faster. And I did some makeup while I was watching Marco Polo's from my other friends, but I will come on here and do as many YouTube lives as I can to keep you, informed about my journey, and to also tell you some of the things that I have learned. Because here's what happened. I am a reader, like I am a nerd. I read all these books and I get all these resources, and I feel like I have all this motivation and I want to share it with the world, and I share it with my mastermind group. And I love the ladies, but they've been getting my motivation for 3 or 4 or 5 months now. Since September. And I'm sure that they are motivated out from Angela. So I said, let me start throwing the motivation at YouTube and see who wants to join me along this journey. My friend Melanie Melanie, that's actually a real life friend of mine, one of my Filipino friends, because I'm half Filipino, who may do this journey with me. Maybe I've inspired her to make a change in her life. So who knows? Anyway, this is about to hit 30 minutes, which is a lot. So it's almost 8 o'clock. This is about when my son wakes up. So I'm gonna go get him out of his crib and, play with him. But usually during this time, the past 30 minutes, I would be watching Marco Polo's, which is an app that you communicate and do video chats with your friends. And I would be watching Marco Polo's from my mentor and my mastermind group. And I think I'm gonna talk to them and say, you will hear less from me. I will not stay as plugged in with you because I'm going to start doing these YouTube lives and sharing with YouTube. And, I think that YouTube is a platform that you can reach people that you never would have reached in other programs, in other platforms, in other social media channels. So that is why I'm starting to do these. And it is an external motivational factor for me. It's external accountability. So if I know I have to do a YouTube live the next day and I have to announce my weight because I plan to tell my weight every day on YouTube that I go live, that's going to keep me compliant. That's going to keep me from eating all the sugar and flour, and going off of bright line eating. Listen, my birthday was yesterday. My best friend was like, what can I get you for your birthday lunch, or can we go to birthday lunch? I'm like, I'd really rather stay home so I can use my food scale. She brought over Chinese food because that's what I wanted. Shrimp. I said, steam the shrimp, have them steam the shrimp and mix Chinese vegetables and a side of white rice. And I skipped my grain for breakfast so I could eat the 4 ounces of white rice. I ate 4 ounces of shrimp and 10 ounces of vegetables. And I made a little sauce with 1 tablespoon of sesame oil, which is a fat, and 1 tablespoon of soy sauce. And I blended them together and I poured it over the vegetables. I said, no sauce. I had her put white sauce on the side, but I didn't really use it because I didn't feel like I needed it. And I just, did my little thing, and it was a perfect lunch. It was amazing. Normally you eat your grain at breakfast, but I was like, oh, it's my birthday. I'll move the grain to lunch. It was great. It was perfect. I loved it. It was delicious. I didn't feel deprived. I felt great. In a couple of days, it's Christmas. And the day after Christmas, my friend is like, let's do Friendsgiving and eat all the leftovers. And I didn't want to tell her, but I'm like, I'm just going to make bright light eating food for Christmas. So I'm thinking for Christmas, I'm just going to do, I'm going to make a pumpkin bake, which is a bright light eating recipe that you do banana and pumpkin and butter, and you blend it all together and you put it in the oven. And I may do that for breakfast and have my husband eat that as a side meal later, and then do like maybe some ham and collard greens. I don't know. I haven't figured that out yet, but I'm going to do bright light eating food for Christmas Day. I'm not going to make it a special day and not about food. And then for the day after, when we do Friendsgiving, I'm probably just going to bring my little meal in a little container and just drink hot tea after it's over. I'll be like, you guys can eat all the mashed potatoes or whatever you want to eat. I'm just going to eat my little bright line container food of meal and then just drink hot tea, because that's what I've been doing. All right, this is so long, but I love you guys. Subscribe, please, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.